Humanity is a species that is always in search of the unknown. And perhaps one of the things we most want to solve but cannot, and therefore fear the most, is the uncertainty of the future. Will I slip and fall when I go out today? What will the stock market be like in an hour? Will I still be alive in 10 years? Everyone asks these kinds of questions. This curiosity holds such a big place within us that we run after people whom we believe give us even the slightest crumb of information from the future. Remember, at one point, coffee fortune-telling cafes opened all over the country, and people were literally lining up. As a result of this curiosity, which has continued throughout the ages, we see famous seers appearing on the stage of history from time to time, giving people news from that mysterious future. Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce, Mother Shipton, and perhaps one of the most popular in recent times, Baba Vanga. So can people who claim to have superior abilities truly receive news from the unseen? Or can they see some images related to that hazy future? We will search together for the truth behind the extraordinary life and prophecies of one of the recipients of this question. And we will find out which of the two claims about the famous seer Baba Vanga is true. Was Baba Vanga a prophet or an agent? Welcome to Find the Truth. Born in 1911 in the town of Strumica, within the borders of the Ottoman Empire, Vangalina Pandava Gushtareva, nicknamed Baba Vanga, was the daughter of a poor family. Born prematurely, she struggled with various health problems, and after her father's pro-Bulgarian activities led to his arrest by Yugoslav authorities, after World War I, they lost all their possessions, leading to relentless poverty. But fate had different plans for her. When she was just 12 years old, a mysterious event occurred that would change her life forever. According to accounts, during a great storm, a tornado lifted little Vanga into the air and carried her to a distant field. When she was found days later, her eyes were covered with a thick layer of soil and sand. Due to the pain she suffered, she couldn't even open her eyelids, and her world was plunged into darkness. This tragic accident blinded young Vanga. However, according to Vanga, this injury also gave her a different eye, a third eye that saw the unseen. After that accident, the old person was gone, replaced by a girl who saw the world with different eyes through her paranormal visions. Vanga, who began to notice strange powers within her at a young age, started seeing images of the future in her dreams and trance states and claimed to heal people. Years passed, and although Vanga attended a school for the visually impaired in 1925, she could not learn to read or write. For this reason, what she said was noted down by others throughout her life. Keep this critical detail in mind. It will be useful at the end of the video. According to rumors, Baba Vanga's first prophecy that brought her fame was her prediction of World War II before it started. And after this event, World War II suddenly became the period when the legend of Baba Vanga first blossomed. In the midst of the war, the fame of this young woman in the Balkans, who saw the future with her blind eyes, began to spread by word of mouth. As rumors spread that she provided information about missing persons, healed people, and even foresaw the course of the war, Vanga's house began to turn into a small pilgrimage site. People from all walks of life, from ordinary villagers to kings, heads of state, and movie stars, lined up to consult this prophetess living in a mountain village in southwestern Bulgaria. It is even rumored that Bulgarian Tsar Boris III secretly consulted Vanga in the 1940s. In later years, Vanga's fame spread beyond the country's borders. It is a known fact that even powerful figures of the time, such as Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev, sought help from Baba Vanga's prophecies. A blind woman's small hut had become a mysterious shrine that attracted even the powerful rulers of the time. Remember, human nature does not change regardless of position. Almost everyone, one way or another, wants to get information from the future. This interest became so intense in 1945 that although the communist government of the time officially rejected metaphysical subjects such as fortune-telling and prophecy due to their ideology, they preferred to closely engage with this woman who had become a saint in the eyes of the public, rather than completely silence her. In 1966, the Bulgarian government established a unit called the Institute of Suggestology, Science of Suggestion, to research paranormal abilities, and began to scrutinize Baba Vanga and examine her prophecies. State officials also began charging visitors fees to regulate and control the crowds of people flocking to Vanga's home. Under the guise of crowd management, they were probably recording and monitoring every session. In fact, 2 official secretaries were even appointed to record every moment and every meeting of Baba Vanga. Imagine, the woman almost became an official civil servant of the state. They even paid her a salary. Indeed, in the 1970s and 80s, high-ranking elites of the Bulgarian Communist Party continued to consult Vanga regularly through private sessions. Leading figures of the party, especially Lyudmila, the daughter of the then head of state, Todor Zhivkov, brought Vanga to Sofia and listened to her predictions about the future behind closed doors. The accounts of Soviet writer Valentin Sidorov, who witnessed one of these private meetings, helped us better understand Baba Vanga's mysterious fame. In fact, they also helped us better understand some of the truths behind that fame. Sidorov came to Bulgaria several times starting in 1979 and met with Lyudmila and Vanga. Sidorov, who initially stated that he was highly skeptical and did not believe the claims of mediums about astral information, writes that all his doubts disappeared after he met Baba Vanga face to face. The famous Soviet intellectual states that Vanga mentioned even the smallest details about himself, his family, his hometown, and his life before he even said anything, and that he listened to all of this with open-mouthed astonishment. He even recounts that Vanga whispered prophecies implying that she knew about highly secret Soviet political developments of those days, such as the upcoming Russian elections and world events. Sidorov was so impressed by this meeting that in his book Lyudmila and Vanga, published in Bulgarian in 1995, he declared Baba Vanga to be the only medium he had no doubts about. This is the second detail I wanted you to keep in mind. Hey friend, talk a bit about the prophecies. What did this woman predict that her fame reached such international levels? For those who ask, we have come to the showy part of the matter and Baba Vanga's world-shaking prophecies. The alleged prophecies that Baba Vanga uttered for decades are said to have a surprisingly high accuracy rate, according to her admirers. Bulgarian and Soviet researchers have even stated that they found the accuracy of Vanga's prophecies to be around 80 to 85%. This is an extremely ambitious figure. Leaving aside the legends and looking at concrete examples, we see that some prophecies attributed to her really pointed to major events that occurred. Now let's examine some of Baba Vanga's most talked about prophecies and how they came true in chronological order, because these are details of critical importance for our research. In 1969, Baba Vanga made a strange prophecy about the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi. She understood a vision. Her dress will destroy her. I see an orange-yellow garment in smoke and fire. Exactly 15 years later, in 1984, Indira Gandhi was shot and killed by her own bodyguards on the day she wore an orange-colored sari. The garment mentioned in the prophecy matched the saffron yellow color of Gandhi's attire at the time of the incident. Thanks to this shocking prophecy, Vanga's fame began to spread from India to the Soviet Union. A sentence allegedly uttered by Baba Vanga in 1980 would amaze everyone years later. In 1999, Kursk will be submerged and the whole world will weep for it. This statement was not understood at first because Kursk was a city in Russia, miles inland from the sea. However, when the nuclear submarine named Kursk suddenly sank in the Barents Sea in August 2000, Vanga's prophecy took on a different meaning. While this tragedy, which claimed the lives of 118 sailors, made headlines around the world, the phrase Kursk will be submerged was almost spot on. Let's continue. One of Baba Vanga's most sensational prophecies is these words, allegedly spoken in 1989. Horror, horror! The American brothers will fall after being attacked by the steel birds. The wolves will be howling in a bush. Innocent blood will gush. Although those who heard these words at the time could not decipher their meaning, when the Twin Towers in New York were hit by planes on September 11, 2001, killing thousands of people, Baba Vanga immediately came to mind. It was claimed that the steel birds in the prophecy symbolize airplanes. The American brothers symbolize the Twin Towers, and the wolves in the bush symbolize the American army howling with the war of revenge initiated under the leadership of then U.S. President George Bush, Bush meaning Bush in English. When the horror of 9/11 shook the whole world, the Baba Vanga myth reached a new global audience. With such prophecies, Baba Vanga's popularity suddenly peaked, and she began to be regarded as a saint in Eastern Bloc countries between the 1970s and 90s. In fact, the People's Republic of Bulgaria itself declared her an official folk healer, a state-approved seer. Isn't that wonderful? In 1996, at the age of 85, this great prophetess passed away. However, her prophecies continued to emerge even after her death. Krasimira Stoyanova, Baba Vanga's niece, who lived with her for about 20 years in her later life, compiled a large collection of all the prophecies her aunt had mentioned, turning them into a book and releasing it to the market. Of course, with the release of that book, Baba Vanga books suddenly began to proliferate on the market, and every prophecy for the next 5,000 plus years is written in detail year by year. Now I want to share some interesting prophecies from the books. Europe will lose its former power. It will be emptied. New people will settle there. Religion will change. Borders will be erased. A prophecy that is rapidly happening today. If Europe continues this way, it will probably come to an end because of political Islamists. Glass will be used instead of iron. If people cannot keep themselves clean, invisible diseases will spread. Medicine will be helpless. Considering that today is a period of serious struggle against viruses, it is again an interesting prophecy. The world will slowly tilt, the pole will shift, rivers will overflow, ice will melt, people will suffer from famine. It is a fact that magnetic poles are shifting, and it is a fact that glaciers are melting. So again, a striking prophecy. As we go further into the future, there are prophecies about humanity suffering great massacres due to the collapse of nature and world wars, after which people will unite with a new religion and belief system, explore space, have their lives extended, and ultimately, after about 5,200 years, everything will end with the universe. Extremely intriguing and surprising claims. And if anyone is thinking, after those previous examples, everything she said really came true, so these must also happen, I think they shouldn't get excited right away. Because now let's look at the other side of the coin, and you decide what to believe after the information I'm about to give you. So let's start with the main question of the second part. Was Baba Vanga actually an agent guided by someone, rather than a prophet? It's time to remember the two details I asked you to keep in mind about Baba Vanga. The first is that, because she was blind, no written sources were left by her. The second is that she gained international fame through the accounts of Soviet writer Valentin Sidorov. Now it's time to connect the seemingly disjointed pieces. With this approach, I will tell you the story again from the beginning. Baba Vanga's father was eliminated because he imposed separatist ideas on the people, according to the government of the day, and the family was constantly kept under surveillance. When Baba Vanga was 12 years old, a mysterious tornado did not lift her into the sky, blind her eyes, and open her third eye. Because according to available scientific data, a tornado powerful enough to lift a human being would have to be an EF3 tornado, and this requires vast flatlands where hot and cold air collide. However, Baba Vanga lived in a mountainous Bulgarian village, and there are no records of an EF3 or more severe tornado ever occurring in that geography. Neither in Bulgaria, Hungary, Serbia, nor Croatia, in short, almost nowhere in that region. So instead of saying that a mysterious tornado lifted the girl, blinded her eyes, isn't it a much more reasonable approach to say that an unhealthy girl, already born prematurely and struggling with illnesses, lost her eyesight due to natural causes and poverty? Let's continue. Let's look at the periods when Baba Vanga began to become popular. In a Balkan country devastated after the First World War, when the Second World War began, a community consisting of elderly people and women who did not know what to do out of fear. Most of the men were either dead or at the front, and uncertainty had gripped the public. In such situations, even a good coffee fortune teller in your neighborhood can become a saint in 2 days. Because it's human nature. People want to cling to even the slightest ray of hope and believe in it. Now, whether Baba Vanga truly had interesting metaphysical powers is unknown, but what is known is that all the initial prophecies were individual. From questions asked by women whose husbands were at the front, to the elderly suffering from health problems due to poor conditions, Vanga generally gave personal information that made people happy. Your husband is at this front, your husband is healthy, your illness is this and that. No one knows how accurate or inaccurate these were, because no written records were kept at that time. Let's talk about attracting the attention of the state. As you know, her father, being an anti-government figure, was eliminated and the family was remotely monitored. Then the state sees that a girl from that family has gathered people around her and is making prophecies. So what happens next, you ask? Coincidentally, the communist Bulgarian regime suddenly makes the woman a kind of civil servant, assigns 2 secretaries to her, and places her under surveillance and control, which also includes those who come to visit her. Then intelligence sees that the woman's fame is spreading in the Iron Curtain countries. To use this PR, they share the profiles and information of state dignitaries or celebrities who will visit her with Baba Vanga, making it seem as if she knows everything about them metaphysically. And in this way, the power of the propaganda machine spreads throughout the world. So what happens next? Baba Vanga suddenly starts making global and political prophecies. Isn't that strange? From a woman who kept to herself to a woman who suddenly made global prophecies under state surveillance. Here too, Soviet writer Valentin Sidorov reappears. He is a staunch socialist communist and a well-known writer. After his meeting with Baba Vanga, this friend suddenly begins to spread Baba Vanga's prophecies to the world. And the prophecies are as follows. Socialism will save humanity. While Eastern Bloc countries will be leaders in science and technology, Europe will collapse. Socialist countries will bring peace to the world. How about that? When we look at the event with these facts, the color of the story suddenly began to change, didn't it? But wait, there's more. The staunch atheist and anti-spiritualist Bulgarian government, for some reason, just as Baba Vanga's fame was growing, announced to the world through the Institute of Suggestology they founded that 85% of her prophecies were true, as if it were a scientific data. However, research conducted after its closure revealed that almost all of the prophecies were only on an individual level, and the accuracy of the rare regional or global events was almost non-existent. For example, it is rumored that she said Barack Obama would be the last US president. That didn't come true. She said Europe would be an uninhabited, barren dead zone in 2016. That didn't come true. She said humanity would fight aliens in 2023. That didn't come true. She named the teams that would play in the 1994 FIFA World Cup final. But that didn't come true. And there are dozens more unsuccessful prophecies like these. If anyone thinks, oh, that happens, what's a few wrong pieces of information? I want to raise the stakes and say this. Baba Vanga actually doesn't have a single prophecy that came true or didn't come true, because the woman had no prophecies. As I said, there is no single official record of her alleged prophecies, other than giving positive suggestions to the people in her region. All these wars, famines, deaths, etc., are all just superstitions told as if she said them. And the reason for their emergence is both intelligence agents trying to impose the communist Eastern regime on the West, and her niece Krasimira Stoyanova, who spent her last years with her. Just imagine a so-called prophecy like this emerges before Vladimir Putin's elections, claiming Baba Vanga said it. You can imagine. A leader will rise from the shadow of the East. His words will echo like a storm. He will steer ships in the waters of time. He will influence both friends and foes. His name will be spoken in every language, like a king walking between power and wisdom. This is just a small example of the most recent reflection of the Eastern propaganda made over the years. Her niece wrote a book called Wang in 1989, a few years before her aunt's death, sharing excerpts from her aunt's life and some vague visions of the future. However, there are no specific prophecies like, this will happen in this year, exactly this will happen in the book. So if you ask what those prophecies at the beginning of the video were, and where they are written, they are all just unfounded claims spread anonymously on the market and the internet after events occurred, and used by those spreading them to sell their books, claiming Baba Vanga said them, even though it's not certain she did. For example, the Twin Towers prophecy. It began to spread anonymously on the internet about 5 years after the event and was attributed to Baba Vanga. The Brexit prophecy that the European Union would collapse appeared on the internet in 2016, claiming Baba Vanga said so. However, there is no official record of her comment on this, and many more. In fact, her niece Krasimira herself warned against these fake and fabricated propaganda prophecies in her book. The sources for the information I've given you here will be in the description. After everything I've told you, I think you should decide. Do you think the story of a woman who told many fortunes to villagers, lost her eyesight due to illness, and whose popularity was used by various state powers during both the Iron Curtain and later Cold War periods to dictate to us a communist and Eastern regime-based future of the world through propaganda prophecies, is more logical? Or is the story of a miraculous prophetess who, at the age of 12, flew into the sky with a geographically impossible tornado, was blinded and had her third eye open, whose every word supposedly came true with an 85% accuracy rate, and who detailed prophecies year by year for over 5,000 years, saying, "This will happen in 2030. That will happen in 2030. Until the end of the universe, more accurate?" Yes, I am also extremely interested in esoteric, mystic, and metaphysical subjects. But when the obvious facts are so clear, continuing to believe in outlandish ideas seems a bit illogical to me. But still, the decision is yours, of course. Prophets, saviors, messiahs. People's desire to seek an extraordinary figure to guide and protect them never ends. The main source of this tendency is lack of self-confidence. It's the fear of struggling and confronting things on one's own. "Oh, I don't want to bother. Baba Vanga already said Europe will disappear. I'll just enjoy myself. Oh, I won't stand up to injustice. The Messiah will come and cut them down." By saying, "Oh this, oh that," those who spread these propagandas will make you their plaything. Yes, there are mysterious things in this world. There are also interesting people. I'm sure some of you have encountered them. I myself have encountered them several times and cannot explain what they did. But that doesn't mean everything presented to us is true. I talked about these topics in my Nostradamus video, and I'm talking about them again now. As we get carried away by the flow of life, unfortunately, the institutions or systems we trust use every opportunity to somehow guide and manipulate us. This can be making you line up to buy a new iPhone, or it can be making you fight against a friend you played backgammon with 2 days ago. It never changes. If you allow someone to guide you, you are becoming a sheep. Please pay attention to this, and always cross-reference everything from at least 2, 3 different sources, especially antithetical sources. Only then will you understand the truth. As I said, there will be many sources in the description, so those who are curious can check them out and even buy and read the book. Although the original has been revised a few times in some way, at least gives an idea. See you again in the next video in pursuit of another truth.